Hello, I'm Suzanne, and this is a gift from my past self. This is the Etchr Mystery Pack, the Atelier. If you aren't familiar, Etchr Lab is a small Australian company that sells premium sketchbooks and other unique art materials. Their limited edition or limited edition products, including these mystery packs, are available only by pre-order and for a limited time. They're sort of like mini Kickstarters. I ordered this one in early February. But chances are, if you're here, you've been thinking about buying one of these mystery packs and you want to know if it'll be worth it. The answer is a little more complicated than just seeing what's inside, but let's go ahead and start there. The product description said, "The Atelier is a special mystery pack created as a complete intentional set, designed to feel like a portable studio in a box." Well, we'll see. There should be at least 5 items in here. Here we go. Item number 1, a limited edition perfect sketchbook, square, 8 inches, 44 pages, 300 GSM. This is great. It doesn't say 100% cotton, but these usually are 100% cotton. Deckled edges, mixed media, vegan friendly. Gonna mean vegan sizing as well as a vegan cover. Do you think they sent this knowing I have a thing for square cold pressed sketchbooks? Nah. While some Etchr mystery packs actually are advertised as being curated based on your prior purchases, this one was not. And if I'm not mistaken, this exact sketchbook has shown up in other unboxing videos of this and other recent mystery packs. We'll open it up in a few minutes. Etchr Landscape Hot Pressed 100% Cotton 220 GSM Sketchbook. I actually have this exact same one, but I ordered it from Amazon, so it's still just a coincidence, I think. Here's what it looks like. Pretty decent, thick paper, even though it's 220 GSM, and it is indeed appropriate for mixed media. In fact, I used this one to test new materials and so far have tried watercolor, gouache, acrylic ink, acrylic markers, flash paints, gel pens, colored pencils, Caran d'Ache Neocolor 2 water-soluble pastels, R&F drawing oils. And the only one I wouldn't use again in one of these sketchbooks are the R&F drawing oils, and only because they just take too long to dry. Everything went down great on this paper, layer after layer with no bleed through, pilling, or buckling. Almost the same thing again, another hot press, but in the slightly narrower panoramic format, 4 by 8 inches. So that's 3 sketchbooks from a premier sketchbook manufacturer. That's a fantastic start, and we're not done. Paint. We've got 6 colors here: fresh green, sunlit yellow, crimson flame, Prussian blue, earth orange, and aqua green. I'll swatch these in a minute, but there's one more thing here. Travel brushes. I love travel brushes. Love them. Make more art. That's sweet. It's a set of 4. 8 flat, 0 round, 4 round, 8 round. Okay, so that's the lot. Now, was it worth it? Should you order one of these? There's a lot to talk about here. But first, for the record, I don't work with or for Etchr Lab, so I don't have any insider info. I'm just a customer who bought this with my own money, so I can be real with you. The first question in deciding whether you should buy an Etchr mystery pack is, can you even afford to buy art supplies that you don't need? This is essentially gambling. If you can't afford it, then don't buy mystery packs or boxes or bags from anyone. Same with advent calendars and subscription boxes. Just buy the things you know you need. But if you can't afford it, the second question is, do you already like Etchr products? Before I bought this, I had already purchased 11 or 12 Etchr sketchbooks, hundreds of their 100% cotton postcards, their field case, and their delightful little ceramic palette set. I was even already a fan of one of their recent contributors, Zach Jackson, having purchased from him a few times on Etsy. In fact, the only Etchr products I'd never been tempted to order were the non 100% cotton paper, the llama logo pin, and student grade paints. So, getting 5 Etchr products at 40% off was a pretty good bet for me. Of course, that's not really why I ordered it. I ordered it as a little gift to my future self. At the time this offer was about to close, I was recovering from an injury and frankly just wanted something to look forward to. I ordered it quite literally in a moment of weakness. Happily, this final question is easier. Ordering a mystery pack is a leap of faith that the company is going to do right by you, that they're going to send you first-rate art materials and not, say, cheap brand swag. While you know there isn't any guarantee you'll get any specific item you want, can you at least trust you'll get whatever they do promise? Well, here's what they promised for this, the Atelier mystery pack. Ships in mid-March. 3 brand new limited edition items designed to work beautifully together, plus Etchr faves, plural, designed as a complete painting setup, cohesive, purposeful, ready to use, and 40% off retail value, meaning $200 worth of stuff for $119. Well, we can knock that first one off. Ships in mid-March? Check. Etchr's products are manufactured in China and shipped directly from there, so it takes a minute. But this one did indeed ship on March 14th and reached me here in the US on March 25th. Yes, it's taken that long to edit this video. But I have to tell you, this wasn't a given. Story time. Last summer, I ordered 3 limited edition items on the same day. They each had different ship times, early August, late August, and September. I was particularly excited for the first one because I wanted to take it on an upcoming trip. But then mid-August came and went without even a shipping notification. And then I stumbled across YouTuber Rai Paint's unboxing video of that same item, which he posted on August 5th. I emailed Etchr, and they confirmed they were holding it to ship with the item that would be available in late August. Honestly, I was fuming. These items were priced to be shipped separately, meaning they cost a fortune. And the order confirmation specifically said they would ship separately to avoid waiting for items already in stock. And the way that I looked at that was once the first item was ready to ship, it was in stock. They should have shipped it. Well, they did ship it out after this email complaint, but they implied it was a communication issue and not some mistake or bad judgment, that I had misinterpreted their words. I think that was the first time I'd ordered directly from Etchr, and frankly, I had planned for it to be my last. But like I said, it was a moment of weakness. Anyway, pro tip, don't bundle multiple limited edition items in a single order. Just place separate transactions. The next promise was 3 brand new limited edition items, and we got them. The square sketchbook, the paint, and the brushes. Just as an aside, the description implied they were exclusive to this set, but they have appeared in other mystery packs in the last month or so. The next promise was additional Etchr faves, plural, and those 2 everyday sketchbooks certainly count. The next promise is that these items, or at least the 3 limited edition items, are designed as a complete painting setup, cohesive, purposeful, and ready to use. Before we can evaluate that, we have to actually test them, starting with this paint. Remember how I said I wasn't interested in their student grade paint? Well, it's nice to have a very small, discounted selection to try out. Etchr describes these as vegan-friendly and transparent, though there is a guide to transparency as well as light fastness on each paint wrapper. Unfortunately, it's too tiny to read. I mean, seriously, I tried. I think the light fast values are between 6 and 8. If that's on the blue wool scale, those are very good values for student grade paint. I'm disappointed that there isn't any pigment information. I did find pigment info online for their regular paint set, but the only overlap between that and this limited edition set is the Prussian blue, which is PB27 as expected. Now we can start to see here why these are called student grade. They are not very pigmented and they don't have a great flow. I added some dabs of my professional tube watercolors for comparison here. My collection includes Winsor& Newton, Core, Snellier, and a lot of Daniel Smith. And as it happens, nearly all of these Etchr colors most closely matched Daniel Smith colors. Right off the bat, let's admit Etchr Sunlit Yellow is very weak. It's closest to the Daniel Smith Hansa Yellow Light, but paler and maybe a little cooler. Etchr Etchr Earth Orange is slightly darker than Daniel Smith New Gamboge. Etchr Crimson Flame is pretty much a dead ringer for Daniel Smith Purell Scarlet, and that happens to be half of the Daniel Smith Essential Split primary set. Etchr Fresh Green is closest to Daniel Smith Sap Green, but a touch cooler. Etchr Aqua Green is the most opaque here and otherwise very similar to Daniel Smith Cobalt Teal Blue. I'm happy to have this one because my tube versions are prone to binder separation and don't always dry or reactivate well in pans, and it's a beautiful color to use directly and surprisingly useful in mixes. Finally, the Prussian blue matches my Daniel Smith Prussian blue, but again is notably less intense. It's pretty, but that lack of pigment is going to make it less helpful for mixing dark tones. Like they said, student grade. The truth is, I just don't need any student grade paints at this point in my painting life. But I can hardly pretend I wasn't expecting them in this mystery pack. They promised a complete painting setup, and as far as I know, Etchr has only ever sold student grade paints. That said, I also find this particular set of colors a little obnoxious. It's almost a split primary, but they've given us a green instead of a cool red. In other words, we have at least 10 ways to make greens and no way to get to a vibrant pink or purple. And my friends, I love pink and purple. But I digress. Here's a mixing chart to see what we're really working with. If you aren't familiar with this style of chart, the straight from the pan colors are in the first row and column, and each cell represents the mix of those two colors. For yellow and orange, I just included one representative mix, but for the rest, I included two versions to show what different ratios do. For example, mixing this red and green in different ratios gives a sort of burnt sienna on one hand and umber on the other. Again, I have to say, this yellow is very weak. In each of these mixes, I made a pool of yellow and just added a touch of the darker color, and you can see we really just got slightly lighter versions of the darker color. Mixing red and blue was the closest I could get to black, a nice purplish Payne's gray, but it took a lot of mass tone of each to get this deep mix. If it sounds like I'm complaining, I am a bit, but I'll still reserve judgment until the end of the video. Let's move on to the brushes. I pulled out the most similar brushes I had to each of these. The round 8 is definitely small compared to other brands I have. The round 4 is maybe a little small as well, but the round 0 seems pretty standard. The 8 flat is about the same width as my 1/4-inch brushes. Doing a quick basic test, I found these are quite precise and controlled, but they do not hold much water. They do have wonderful tips for fine lines like grasses. As a comparison, here is the Round 8 travel brush from Princeton Aqua Elite line. which is a great synthetic version of Kolinsky sable and generally considered a great balance between water retention and control. You can see the Aqua Elite, in addition to just being bigger, is much juicier, but the point isn't quite as crisp as the Etchr brushes. I'd say these Etchr brushes would be best for smaller paintings, fine details, and dry brushing. Now back to that fourth promise: complete painting setup, cohesive, purposeful, ready to use. Let's test that. Here's that limited edition sketchbook out of the box. It's beautiful. And this is what they say is a complete painting setup. Well, I need a few more things. But I won't use any other brushes, paints, or other media. I found a reference photo that I think will be a really fair test of the paper, paint, and brushes. My father took this photo in Scotland in the early 80s. Thanks, Dad. Now, I'm going to have to mix every single color. There will be many layers, lots of dry brushing, and some fine details to test those beautiful brush tips. Now, I'm just going to put on some music and we'll talk again on the other side. Well, that turned into 2 sessions, but was a fun challenge. I am absolutely in love with this sketchbook. It lies flat, even on the first page. The paper is absolutely fantastic. Bright, wonderful tooth, great water control. I really punished this stuff with all the layers and scrubbing, and it really only got the slightest warp at one point, which I could have prevented with a clip, and which settled out while drying. There was no problem pulling the tape either. I honestly can't wait to paint more in this thing. I think I'll dedicate it to watercolor landscapes. I will not, however, be restricting myself to this set of paints again. I guess I'm satisfied with the result, but using this palette was not enjoyable. Mixing was so time consuming, especially the quote unquote black, because it required activating so much paint and I had to mix it over and over again to cover the area and then some more when it kept drying too light. Also, with the yellow so weak, I particularly struggled to make an ochre tone. If I paint this particular scene again, and I will be treating myself to, yellow ochre and burnt sienna and pearly maroon, and especially Payne's frickin' gray. That said, although I won't be using this Etchr paint set as a limited palette again, I can and will use these individually as convenience colors with my other paints. As for the brushes, they behaved as I expected. I just think they're better suited to smaller paintings. They were fine for details, but terrible for coverage. Even for dry brushing, they didn't carry strokes as long as I would have liked. Which brings me back to that fourth promise. Do these items really work together? Technically, yes, we've proven that. But purposefully and well, I don't think so. The sketchbook is undeniably awesome and undeniably professional grade. It feels like a waste to use it with these student grade paints. Honestly, I don't understand who the audience is for this. Any artist willing to invest in an Etchr Perfect sketchbook will almost certainly already be using artist grade paints. I also think this sketchbook is too big for this set of brushes. They'd make more sense bundled with the mini sketchbooks Etchr recently started selling. Otherwise, I'd replace the round 0 with a juicy round 12 so you can do some big washes and get a little loose. So that leaves the last promise, value. Is this really $200 worth of stuff? Let's do the math. The square sketchbook isn't available on its own, but the least expensive comparable sketchbook I found on their website is $64 US, and they go up from there. The 2 hot press sketchbooks are $34.51 and $25.75. A very similar set of travel brushes was sold last year for $94. Wow. That totals $218 without even including the paint. So even if I hated that paint and valued it at $0, this package would still retail $99 more than I paid. And of course, I don't hate the paint. And if I extrapolate from a set of 24 paints at $59, we can estimate this little palette would retail around $15. That brings the total to $233. So the $119 I paid for it was 49% off. So, other than the very subjective fourth promise, this mystery pack met the expectations Etchr set for it. I certainly don't regret buying it, but I also think it scratched the itch. I don't feel any compulsion to buy another anytime soon. So what do you think? Are you tempted? Did this answer some questions for you? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Finally, this is a brand new channel and I am just learning DaVinci Resolve, and this video has taken weeks to put together. So a like and subscribe would mean a great deal. Thanks so much for watching.